Welcome everybody to a look at another release from Umbrella Entertainment. It's another horror film. It's even another one from 2009, like Triangle that we've already looked at, and it is The House of the Devil. So this is directed by Ty West, who also wrote and edited this film. He's most well known for the likes of X, Pearl, and Maxine, which were a trilogy of films that he made, which I all in general really rather liked. Although I still find that X is my favourite of the three. But he also did the really rather solid The Innkeepers and The Sacrament, and the fairly underrated In a Valley of Violence, which is not a horror film, it is a western. But this is a horror film, clocking at 95 minutes long. Stars Jocelyn Donahue, who I've not seen anything else from in terms of a leading role like in this film, but she did have supporting roles in other horror films like Doctor Sleep and Insidious Chapter 2. Also stars Tom Noonan, who was in the likes of Robocop 2, Manhunter, Wolfen, and Late Phases. And in supporting roles, you've got you've got actor and director Greta Gerwig. I think this is actually only her second role, so a bit of a breakout one for her, as well as 80s mainstay Dee Wallace. So, a young college student who's struggling financially takes a strange babysitting job which coincides with a full lunar eclipse. She slowly realizes, however, her clients are harboring a terrifying secret, putting her life in mortal danger. So, this is a horror film that relies more on suspense, character building, and creating atmosphere than just gory thrills, while also keeping its cards close to its chest for as long as possible, which makes the whole revelation all the more satisfying. I think it's just after the hour mark that, the true intentions of what's going on, or the true scenario of what's going on is revealed. It also has an effective old school aesthetic to it that helps to set it apart from its contemporaries. So it's shot, I think it was shot on 16mm. It's edited and shot in a way that evokes films from like the 70s and 80s. And yeah, that really lends it some weight. It's also got a couple of songs from the early 80s that help set the mood as well. Two really rather good ones. One by the Greg King Band, and also by The Fix, which are two really rather solid songs. So yeah, they help set the mood, which means that I like the score and the soundtrack overall because I do like those two songs, while the score in general is rather good. The cast is solid. The primarily singular setting of the titular house is well used. There is about 20 or so minutes where it's set in the college and then it moves to this house, but the vast majority of it is set in that house. It is generally engrossing, and when the reveal does come, the violence is justifiable with a suitably tense final act that has a well executed conclusion. So, yeah, I'm not going to say this is perfect. I can imagine some people getting quite bored by it because it is an hour or so of, like I said, character building, building suspense, and creating atmosphere. But I find all of that to be a positive, quite frankly, especially if there is a conclusion that makes all of that worthwhile and it's not just a poor ending tacked on to all of that that's come before it. So yeah, really, really good in that regard. It's a 4 out of 5. Not my favourite from Ty West, but it is a generally really rather good one and his first generally great film that I had seen. So yeah, well worth seeing. I would like to also mention the fact that I feel like this is a precursor to the elevated horror kind of films. I hate using that term because horror is horror at the end of the day. It doesn't have to be elevated or otherwise. Um, but if you look at the style of this, the pacing, and the general atmosphere, it does evoke the kind of films from A24. So A24 came about only 3 years after this came out, but they're well-known horror films like The Witch, Hereditary, and such only came out several years after this, so it does feel like a bit of a precursor to those films. And Ty West would actually go on to work with them on the X, Pearl, and Maxine trilogy of films. So, yeah, it does seem a bit of a precursor to those efforts, as far as I'm concerned. And yeah, if you compare it to other horror films from 2009, for instance, yes, it's not as good as say Triangle, which we've already looked at from Umbrella Entertainment, but you compare it to the remake of Friday the 13th, which really did not provide any thrills or any tension or anything like that. It was generally quite dreadful. This is, yeah, completely different to that kind of film, and in general is a lot better than most other 2000s horror films as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, we get a nice slipcover with this as well to go along with a hard box. So it's got the tagline on the back there. So yeah, that's nicely done. And then all sides out. And as per usual, you can swap the artwork around so you don't have this big ugly age rating on it. And just like the other two releases, we get a nicely printed disc and a whole host of physical and extras on the disc as well. So we get a poster, which again is nicely done. Has the two different artworks on it. So we have the what I believe is a new one that's been done by Umbrella Entertainment. That's really nice. And then the original artwork on the reverse. We also get a booklet. And inside we have Tell Truth and Shame the Devil, Ty West, Dark Nostalgia and the Satanic Panic by Gavin Badley. So yeah, talks about Ty West's films after this one. So you can see there we've got Pearl and Maxine. And then you got Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which is definitely kind of an influence on this in terms of its general aesthetic. And then X, which, like I said, is one of my favourites from him. And then more influences, you've got the likes of Psycho, Silence of the Lambs. Not sure if House of a Thousand Corpses is a particular influence or not, but I didn't really see it. And then we've also got Rosemary's Babysitter, Ty West's Horror at an Hourly Rate by Nadine Whitney. Yeah, there is definitely an element of Rosemary's Baby to this, although I would say that this is its own thing. It's not, you know, trying to completely ape off of that. And then we've got Georges Méliès Le Manoir du Diable from 1896 by Jack Sargent. So I'm guessing that's a kind of similar effort, named The Devil's Castle in Britain and The Haunted Castle in the US. It can also be translated as The Manor of the Devil and, of course, The House of the Devil. So I'm guessing he pretty much just talks about that film. I think that's the director that did the Moon one. I can't for the life of me remember it now. But basically the first sci-fi effort to deal with going to the moon, I believe it was. And then we've also got Everything Old Man. Oh, Everything Old is New Again, Ty West, House of the Devil, and Vintage Horror by Travis Johnson. So yeah, the one reason why I like these kind of write-ups where they talk about other films is that usually there is something in there that I haven't heard of, and then I will try and seek it out. So yeah, that's always a good reason to you know, bother with reading these kind of things. And then you've got author bios in the back of this as well. And then thanks at the back. So that's nice. And then we've also got some art cards, which have different versions of the poster on it, as well as shots from the film. So minor spoilers for the film itself. And then finally, the art card that we saw on the sleeve. Which, yeah, is nicely done. And yeah, then we also get several extras on the actual disc itself. We get audio commentary by Ty West, Larry Fessenden, Peter Fox, and Graham Resnick. Then we got audio commentary by Ty West and Jocelyn Donahue. Then we get video essay with writer and critic Heather Drain, In the House of the Devil featurette, Behind the House of the Devil, Deleted Scenes, House of the Devil, 1896, George's and Melly's short film. Oh, that's cool. I'll definitely be checking that out. And then the trailer. So yeah, I didn't realize that was actually on this disc. So I guess that makes sense why they're talking about it in the booklet. So yeah, I'll definitely check out that short film. So yeah, but on the whole, a really really solid effort. Like I said, it does feel like a big precursor to the A24 films that would dominate the 2010s. You know, Hereditary was a massive hit. The Witch was a critical darling and also really rather good in its own right. And yeah, obviously they'd go on to other horror efforts in the current decade that we're in now. So yeah, really really enjoyable effort. If you've not seen it already, then I do highly recommend it. If you're into your slower burning kind of horror films, then this will be right up your street. And yeah, on the whole, a fairly enjoyable effort in its own right, as well as in regards to Ty West's filmography. While also this is in terms of the physical aspects, a really really rather nice release. The Blu-ray looks fine. I'm pretty sure we could buy this on Blu-ray already here in the UK, just like with Triangle. But because I really rather enjoy this film, I really wanted this special edition version, especially since I do like my posters and yeah, I do really like my hard box releases as well, which Umbrella seem to be knocking it out of the park with recently. There's a couple more coming out next year that I'm highly anticipating. We've got Black Death, which is done by the same director that did Triangle, and we've also got Daybreakers coming on 4K as well. So looking forward to both of those. Nonetheless, so thank you for watching. If you have seen this film before, I'd like to hear your thoughts on it, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.